What's up, guys? True Crime King back again. Okay, so we know that there's good and bad people in every um, walk of life. Every job has good and bad people, and so police officers are not exempt from this. So what you're about to see is an example of an extremely bad police officer. Yeah, it's graphic, so if you have young kids, I would not recommend them watching this. But hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell, and let's get into the video.
Get out. You really want to get tased right here in the middle of your car? What? Get your ass out now. I haven't done anything, officer. I haven't done anything.
All right, so real quick. First, the officer tried to go around to the passenger side before he went to the driver's side. But this kid's passenger side window and door does not go down, and the door doesn't open. So then the officer walked around to the front, and the kid hasn't done anything wrong. He doesn't even know why he's pulled over at this point. So I'm just giving you some context.
Anything, officer? What, am I under arrest? Yes. Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest? Come out of the car. Am I under arrest?
See, the officer, he's trying to pull him out, but he's not telling him what he's under arrest for, why he's being detained. Yeah.
Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest? Give me your hands. You're under arrest. For what? Yeah. For what? Get your ass out of the car. Alright, fine. Fuck it. Just get out.
And then he just says, fuck it, just get out, and points the taser at him.
Out right now. Out.
And he fired. He didn't even say you're about to get tased. He just fires a taser. And now, listen, when you hear the taser, that buzzing sound, that means the police officer is still holding the trigger. So it's, you know, when you hold the trigger in, it's going to keep shocking him. You're only supposed to hold that trigger in for like 1 to 2 seconds, or it could cause heart failure.
Out of the car. Out of the car. Taser deployment. On the ground.
So right there, it's been at least 5 seconds already. He's still holding the trigger.
Out of the car. On the ground. On the ground. Ah! Told you. Hands behind your back.
That's at least 15 seconds.
Put your hands behind your back.
Over 20 seconds. All right, now what I want you guys to pay attention to what this officer does after this. So he doesn't know it right now, but the kid is having his heart failed. He's having a cardiac arrest right now. He can't stand up. And watch, he's just gonna drop him on his fucking face.
That video is difficult to watch because Bryce Masters suffered from brain damage as a result of what happened. For anyone who was unclear on what occurred, Runnels, the police official who's no longer a cop, tased him for 23 seconds straight in the heart. Okay, that
23 seconds straight, and the prongs went right into his heart. So the electricity was being pumped right into his heart.
led to cardiac arrest, and as a result, oxygen was cut off to Masters' brain for 5 to 8 seconds. He suffered a coma as a result. He was rushed to the hospital, and
the most sickening part was when you heard the thud, when you just let him go. He's handcuffed, can't protect himself, and then you hear his head bounce off the pavement. But he actually got the cardiac arrest from tasing in the heart for 23 seconds.
Yes. Now,
look, this is what we always talk about. You've got to. I know that cops are in a warrior mentality, and we're all the enemy, and they're the occupying force. But some of us are actually citizens. In fact, the overwhelming majority of us are citizens that you're supposed to be protecting.
Yeah, that guy wasn't running or doing. He didn't have a weapon,
So I'm going to say something that cops will find controversial. Maybe we should teach you guys a little bit of empathy, so that you can understand that there are other human beings and you don't treat them that way. If we had training that said, hey, when you're arresting a kid, imagine it's your kid. Now, I'm not telling you not to be on guard, right?
Yeah, now, Bryce, he did have a dad, and his dad is actually a police officer.
But if it was your kid, you probably wouldn't have dropped him face first into the concrete like you did. You probably wouldn't have tased him in the heart for 23 seconds. But you don't have any empathy, and so you think, who cares, man? He made my life slightly inconvenient for a second.
Yeah, that cop definitely should never be a cop ever again, and yeah, that's just sickening.
So, this is what I'm going to do to him. Damn the consequences.
So, as I mentioned, Bryce Masters was sent to the hospital. He was suffering from a coma, and his parents show up to the scene, and then they realize, one of them should stay behind. Matt, the father, who was also a police official, stayed behind to kind of help collect evidence and figure out what's going on. The mother went to the hospital not really realizing the extent of her son's injuries, right? And so apparently a neurologist was working on this case, and this is according to The Intercept. So the neurologist later pulled Matt and Stacy, the parents, into a private room and explained that she had calculated Bryce's Glasgow coma score, a point system designed to gauge the severity of his brain injury. She told Masters that Bryce had scored a 3. Okay, the highest score is a 15, indicating that the patient would be aware and awake. 3 is the worst possible score.
A 3 is the worst possible score for a coma.
Okay, so he had a 50-50 chance of survival, and miraculously he did survive. And as a result, since his father was a former cop, he was able to contact the FBI and get the feds involved immediately. And he noticed that there was a discrepancy in the way that the police officials were responding to some of the questions. So at first they said, there was a warrant out. We thought that it was a car belonging to someone who had a warrant out for their arrest. But there was no indication, if you ran the plates, there was no indication that there was any warrant or any wrongdoing. So then they tried to walk the story back and say, we smelled marijuana. And this is interesting because this comes from a cop who is now victimized.
Yeah, they're just trying to cover their asses now, those cops, you know what I mean?
By the same type of police brutality that we talk about on a regular basis, right? And I love his statement. Matt's experience as a cop taught him that officers can sometimes write themselves out of trouble through exaggerated, self-serving reports. He says, whenever you see these officers come out with a use of force, whether it be a shooting or a tasering or whatever, there are phrases that always go in those reports that we've been trained to put in there. And so many times that's just like an insert quote here in your report because that's going to cover your ass.
See, yeah, cover your ass. That's right.
So he gets the feds involved, and because the feds were involved, and they did an accurate investigation, and they saw the barbs, like the marks near his heart, and they did a full investigation, they found, you know what, we need to go after this cop. And he got 4 years in prison as a result of that.
Good. All right, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to show you that example. That was an extreme example, but I'm glad that guy's no longer a cop. Put your thoughts, comments down in the comment box, and I'll see you guys soon. True Crime King, out.